Let's begin this analysis with a statement that might hurt the purists. The internal combustion engine, for the vast majority of its existence, has been a failure. Since Nicholas Otto fired his first four-stroke engine in 1876, engineers have been fighting a losing battle against the laws of thermodynamics. The physics are cruel. In a standard petrol engine, the vast majority of the energy contained in the fuel does not move the car. It is lost. For decades, the industry accepted a rule of thirds. 1/3 of the energy goes out the exhaust pipe as hot gas. 1/3 is absorbed by the cooling system to keep the metal from melting, and only 1/3 pushes the piston down. This means that for 100 years we have been driving machines that are roughly 30% efficient. In the early 2000s, Toyota launched a crusade to break this limit with the Prius. They refined the Atkinson cycle. They clawed their way to 38%, then 40%, and finally 41% thermal efficiency. The automotive world declared this the physical ceiling. They told us that pushing beyond 40% in a road-legal car would require materials so expensive and tolerances so tight that it was commercially impossible. They lied. While Europe was drafting legislation to ban the engine, BYD engineers in China were dissecting it. They weren't interested in making it sporty. They were interested in mathematical perfection. The result of this obsession is the DM-i 5.0 powertrain. It achieves a certified thermal efficiency of 46.06%. This number is not just a statistic, it represents a fundamental shift in how we convert chemical energy into kinetic energy. Today, we are going to ignore the marketing. We are going to perform a deep dive engineering breakdown of the technologies that allowed BYD to break the thermodynamic ceiling. To understand the magnitude of this engineering feat, we must start inside the combustion chamber. The single most important number in this engine is 16.1. This is the compression ratio. In the world of thermodynamics, compression is king. The more you squeeze the air-fuel mixture before igniting it, the more energy you extract when it expands. However, there is a limit. It is called auto-ignition, or knock. If you squeeze petrol too hard, the fuel explodes before the spark plug fires. This explosion tries to push the piston down while it is still moving up. It destroys connecting rods and melts pistons. The BYD engine runs at 16.1. How is this possible on 92-octane pump gas? The answer lies in the radical application of the Miller cycle. In a standard engine, the intake valve closes exactly when the piston reaches the bottom of the cylinder. In the BYD engine, the intake valve stays open. As the piston begins its upward journey, a portion of the air-fuel mixture is pushed back into the intake manifold. This decouples the compression ratio from the expansion ratio. The effective compression is lowered to prevent knock, but the expansion ratio remains at the full 16.1. When the spark fires, the piston travels the full length of the stroke, extracting nearly every joule of work. The sponge is squeezed dry. But using the Miller cycle creates a new problem: lack of power. You need the mixture to burn instantly. If the flame moves slowly, heat transfers into the aluminum walls, and that energy is lost. You need a flash fire. BYD solved this with high-tumble aerodynamics. They designed the intake port with a sharp, calculated angle that creates a violent vertical vortex inside the cylinder. This turbulence mixes petrol and oxygen at a microscopic level, creating a perfectly homogeneous mixture. When the spark fires, combustion happens almost simultaneously across the chamber. The heat pushes the piston down before it can be absorbed by the engine block. There is another enemy to efficiency at 16.1 compression: heat. To solve this, BYD implements a massive cooled EGR system. They take inert exhaust gas and pass it through a high-capacity water-cooled heat exchanger. They then pump this freezing cold inert gas back into the combustion chamber. This gas does not burn. It absorbs peak heat spikes, smooths the thermal curve, and allows the engine to run optimal ignition timing without melting the pistons. It is a chemical hack that allows a street car to run race car compression ratios. Now let's move outside the cylinder block. A traditional engine is covered in parasites: belts, pulleys, alternators, water pumps, AC compressors. Every one of them steals power. BYD's philosophy was engineering by subtraction. This is the world's first mass-produced beltless engine. There are no belts, no pulleys, no tensioners. The alternator is gone. The starter motor is gone. The AC compressor is electric. The water pump is electric and PWM controlled. By stripping the engine naked, BYD ensured that the energy produced by the pistons goes directly to the generator. There are no parasites left to feed. Efficiency is also lost through friction. BYD implemented a split cooling system. The cylinder head is kept cool to prevent detonation, while the engine block is kept hot. This keeps the oil at its lowest viscosity, reducing hydrodynamic drag. The pistons slide with minimal resistance. Heavy cast iron liners are eliminated and replaced with a plasma-sprayed coating. It is ultra-hard, mirror-smooth, and reduces friction significantly. Every micron of resistance was hunted down and eliminated. Now we must address the transmission. Toyota relies on planetary gears. Volkswagen relies on dual clutches. BYD asked a dangerous question: why do we need a transmission at all? The answer is, we don't. For most driving, the petrol engine is physically disconnected from the wheels. It acts as a dedicated power station, operating at its most efficient RPM. The wheels are driven by a powerful electric motor, giving instant torque and no gear shifts. At highway speeds, a single clutch locks the engine directly to the wheels with a 1-to-1 ratio. No gears, no losses. BYD also revolutionized cooling here. The electric motor uses direct oil spray cooling, pumping dielectric oil directly onto the windings. This dramatically increases heat dissipation, allowing the motor to run harder and cooler than anything before it. Finally, we look at the obsession with detail. BYD eliminated the lead-acid battery and replaced it with a small lithium iron phosphate 12-volt battery. It lasts the life of the car. If it dies, the main battery recharges it automatically. You will never be stranded. In cold weather, BYD uses pulse heating. High-frequency currents vibrate the battery cells, generating heat from the inside out. Even at -20, the system maintains efficiency. So what does all this mean? The BYD DM-i 5.0 is not just an engine, it is a philosophy. It proves that the limits of physics were really limits of imagination. The internal combustion engine is no longer the star of the show, it is the silent partner. The era of the roaring, inefficient engine is over. The era of the silent, surgical machine has begun, and Toyota has a lot of work to do.
Where progress meets nature.